college football this year has been wide open because there aren't any teams that you can say are elite but one, and that being Oregon. Oregon, from start to finish, has been the most consistent team in college football. Yeah, they've had their fair share of scares, like against Idaho State and Boise State early during the season, but they were able to win those games. And they were able to also beat some of the best teams on their schedule, like Ohio State. Oregon, from a talent standpoint and a performance standpoint, they've been the only elite team that we've had this season. Normally, around this time, it's 3 or 4 teams that you're discussing for possibly being able to win it all. But right now, Oregon looks like the only clear-cut team that looks like they're just a sure thing to be in a national championship game. And to me, Oregon is the new Georgia. During the middle of the season, Joel Klatt had called Texas somewhat of the new Georgia. But Oregon, to me, is Georgia on the West Coast. When you look at how this team is constructed, they look exactly like those Georgia teams that won back-to-back natties. They have these X-Men up front on the offensive line, defensive line. You got guys that are 300 plus, probably running like 4.8, 4.9 in the 40-yard dash. They have good receivers. They got a really good quarterback in Dillon Gabriel, and they are extremely well coached. And the ending to the Ohio State game, Dan Lanning intentionally committing a penalty because he knew that it would prove to be a disadvantage to Ohio State based off the situation, and the NCAA having to go back and rectify those rules shows you how well coached Oregon is. You know, Dan Lanning has quickly risen up the ranks of coaches in college football. Right now, there's probably only about 3 coaches that I could name that I would take over Dan Lanning right now. He's done a great job of recruiting. Now, some of that has been helped to him having unlimited NIL money thanks to Phil Knight. But as we've seen with Jimbo Fisher and Ryan Day and Mario Cristobal, just because you can buy all of the best players out of the portal and in high school doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, because you still have to put them in position to maximize their skill set. And that's what Dan Lanning has done. Look at his last 2 offensive coordinators. Kenny Dillingham. Look what he's doing at Arizona State. I think Arizona State hired Kenny Dillingham after only his first year being the offensive coordinator. He quickly has turned around Arizona State football. Will Stein is going to be in high demand for a lot of head coaching jobs over the next couple of weeks. You know, Dan Lanning, not only is he a great coach at preparing his team, motivating his guys, but he's really good at assembling a really good roster. And the moment I knew that Dan Lanning was going to be one of the next great coaches in college football was when he gave that pregame speech against Colorado last year. Now, you guys remember I went viral last year for saying Colorado was going to upset Oregon. And, of course, it aged horribly. A bunch of the Oregon Barstool pages were posting it. Trayshawn Holden reposted it as well. But I knew I effed up making that prediction as soon as I heard Dan Lanning's pregame speech going into that game. He said the Cinderella story is over. They're playing for clicks. We're playing for wins. This game ain't going to be played in Hollywood. This game is going to be played on the field. You talk with your helmet. You talk with your pads. When I heard that, I knew Colorado was about to get messed up. And also listening to it, I heard shades of Kirby Smart, because we all remember that infamous pregame speech that Kirby Smart delivered before that national championship beatdown against TCU. I want to come out here and fuck some shit up. That's Dan Lanning. You feel the aggressiveness. You feel the intensity. And Oregon plays with that same level of passion and intensity on the field. You know, I'm glad that I don't have to suit up and play Oregon, because you're just looking at guys who are just, you ever seen some of these guys running at the combine that make you go, bro, what the hell are you? And what the hell were your parents feeding you? Like, some of the guys that Oregon has on their team need to be drug tested, because I don't know if they're not doing steroids. Hell, I don't even know if some of the guys on Oregon's team are freaking human. It's like they got a whole team full of mutants, a whole team full of freaking X-Men. Like, there is a big difference between Oregon and the rest of the other teams in college football, just with the speed, the athleticism, and the size that they have on both sides of the football, kind of makes them the little bit of an equivalent to what an NFL team is. And they don't really have any weaknesses at all.